Hello, my name is Faza Zaki. I'm 25 years old. I work in Planning and Control Division at PT PLN Persero PANGKALAN SUSU Power Plant Unit. I would like to speak about renewable energy. What is renewable energy and where does it come from? We all think we know, and some of us may even be able to name some of the most prominent sources of renewable energy. But do we really understand the purpose of each type, such as how and where it is used? How much energy it can generate, or its wider economic or benefits. Here, I attempt to cut through the fog and give a clear and decisive summary of the information presently available on renewable energy and associated technologies. Put simply, renewable energies are those generated from sources that do not have a finite end, or those that can be recycled, typically from natural sources like solar, wind, tidal, biomass, and geothermal. Those are the examples that we think about most when we hear the term renewable energy. We use energy every day of our lives. Our electronic devices require electricity for power, our street lights need the same for lighting, our vehicles require gasoline and diesel. We fuel our homes with domestic oil, propane, electricity from a national or local grid for lighting, heating, and powering our devices. You are hearing this video on a computer or your phone, it requires electricity. The places we work use computers for networks, security systems, and servers, as do our shopping malls, parking lots, sports stadiums, cars, airplanes, and so on and so on. Although all of those things require electricity, the world is doing what it can to reduce carbon emissions and limit the global average temperature change with a new agreement decided in 2015 at the Paris Climate Summit or COP21. To move forward, we also need to realize that there is only so much that can possibly be done in limiting GHG output as the human population only increases and put more demands on our energy infrastructure. To further help the environment and secure the future of our planet for our children, we need to move to renewable sources for our energy generation. According to a report by international agency, the increase of amount of electricity produced from renewable sources increases from just over 13 in 2012 to 22 of the following year. They also predict that the figure should hit 26% in 2020, which is next year. In terms of total generation, renewable accounts for 19% of our present usage, and more clearly needs to be done though, for the reasons stated below. But these figures are encouraging from the perspective of the use of renewable on its own. Most long-term forecast models predict that use will triple between 2012 to 2040, with a greater amount should hit the planet 2 degrees of warming. We can break those figures down even further and look at the divide between renewable energy types, such as 9% from biomass, 2% as non-biomass heat energy, 8% from hydroelectricity generation, 2% of electricity generated from geothermal, biomass, wind, and solar power. There is still much to do though. Between 2000 and 2012, the largest growth area in terms of resources was coal, easily the dirtiest form of fossil fuels. The most used resource amid fluctuating price coupled with what we now understand to have been overproduction for several years was oil. The question is, why do we need renewable energy? First, because the first and the main reason why government and businesses are keen to move to renewable energies, because the fossil fuels are a finite source. We may or may not have reached peak oil at the point at which demand outstrips supply, and by current figures, many experts seem to agree we did so around 2008 with only external factors creating fluctuation in demand, making it difficult to predict precisely when it will run out. That is another debate entirely that our politicians and economists have argued for decades and will continue to argue for many years to come. Whichever way we look at it, fossil fuels will run out eventually, and it will take some 10 million years to replenish what we have used in around 150 years. As the human population increases, our rate of consumption of these fossil fuels also increases. Geologists and others whose job it is to locate and access these pockets of crude oil are finding it increasingly difficult to locate and extract new resources. Whether we have 1 year or 100 years left of oil, many argue that what is left should remain in the ground because it is non-sustainable. It will run out eventually, and so we should prepare for a post-fossil fuel world now. Besides that, do you know what should be concerned? The most immediate problem, particularly in light of the COP21 agreement of 2016 and the changes we have seen to the climate in the last 150 years, is climate change and the carbon emissions that are forcing it. In the last few years, especially, no part of the world has been untouched by freak weather conditions. Most continents have recorded high temperatures in summer, records low in winter, and increased frequency of typhoons and hurricanes, records dry spells, drought, and flooding everywhere, especially in Indonesia. There is no doubt that these freak weather conditions are affecting every country in the world. Most renewable energy sources and the new technology used to harness them are low in carbon emission. In most cases, once installed, they have minimal or no carbon output and can still provide our energy needs. We can never go fully carbon neutral, as it takes resources to make a solar panel, build a dam, and so on and so on. But it is critical and significant reduction for our carbon output. What we do need to do is to take the steps we can to reduce our carbon footprint of international regulation, to help those in developing world, and to protect ourselves against the freak weather. We also know that the ice caps are melting and the sea levels are rising, which creates food shortage and national instability, as well as being an expensive situation for our insurance. As fossil fuel supply gets harder to acquire, and prospectors search for new pockets of oil and have to drill longer and deeper to acquire it, there has been a conflict between environmental groups and industry, and between governments and both groups when local wildlife and environmentally sensitive areas are threatened. Here in Indonesia, public consciousness and the need to protect our wildlife and natural landscapes means that many new developments are protested with concern of environmental damage. Ongoing protests against fracking and new drilling in Europe and North America and recent examples. Though some renewables will have an environmental impact, many don't, and when built, they have no further impact, unlike ongoing drilling. We will talk about the public health. Oil, gas, and coal drilling and mining have high level of pollution. They are pumped into local environments and the wider atmosphere. So, while the protesters attempt to prevent the building of pipelines or new prospecting in virgin areas and wilderness, it is as much about public health as it is about conservation. We have known that for decades about the knock-on effect of industrial processes for public health. Few renewables are entirely emission-free, but their output is much lower than conventional fossil fuel depletion and processing. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening. If you want the further discussion about renewable energy and more details, you can ask me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.